Alright, hello everybody, this is Demon coming back for another round of Final Fantasy. So I'm going to go ahead and do this intro as well for for the next episode. This will be for Saturday. Because I'm already in this room and there's no point in me not doing it. I'll do the outro differently though, and then I'll probably cut the episode off wherever we're at. So we'll sit there and see how it goes. So let's go ahead and talk to Graha real quick. Again, I gave you guys a pretty long, hour and a half long episode yesterday. Hopefully everybody was, well, hour and a half, somewhere between there. Do you have the papers posted on the walls of your room? 'Twas not unusual for occupants to pin up notes and documents and such, and then forget to take them when they went on their merry way. Sometimes it was quite deliberate, though. You might see complaints addressed to other members, or a thank you card for the engrossing literature someone left behind. Beloved traditions that I should know better than to dwell upon. If we are to create a future for the students of the Ascians and so many others, we must look to the days ahead. Okay, it's got... Okay, so there's a Garuda, the map of Eorzea. What is that? I don't know what that is. The only thing I can mirror an idea of is the cloud top area where the Mugles and stuff are at in Heaven's Ward. Oh, you know what? One thing I haven't checked. Let's check it real quick. Oh my god. So there's Eorzea, there's Garlemald, and then the east. Wow. That is so cool. I won't lie, the little notes that just have scribble on it kind of takes it away. Because like, this map looks really nicely detailed. Like, there's some of the textures, like, you could sit there and look at it and it kind of looks off. But this, like, little thing here, that looks like so much more off than anything. It looks like, it makes it appear kind of weird. This one's probably not too bad, but that one's kind of bad. But it's nothing too much that I care about. Still looks cool nonetheless. I wonder what I got over here. Crystal. Oh, that's... Wait, is that you? No, oh no, that's the new area I think you get to go to. That's the ship that the Empire has. This one I don't remember. What else they got? That area I don't remember too well either. That must be a new area we haven't gone to. That looks like the Bahamut stuff. Okay. That looks cool. What's that? At the east? Yeah, that's Ruby C. I can already see that. Look, it's a Mughal of the king. Look at him. Look at him. He got a little rope and giving all the Mughals a chance to run away. That is neat. I love this so much. Oh, this is going to be fun. Feeling refreshed and alert, our colleagues should be wandering in soon, so I suggest we stay here and wait for them to join us. I'm not gonna lie, I'm sitting here with a smile on my face. I really do love this. This is really cool already. What the hell was that? Why'd they jumpy?
Pray forgive me. I was delayed.
It's fine, Moriange. We're all here now. Let's get down to business then, shall we? Come what may, we must prevent the Telophoroi's plans from coming to fruition. At present, I see two paths for gathering the information which may aid us in achieving that goal. The first involves an investigation into the change which has come over Garlean. Not to mention the recent inscrutable behavior of the Forum. As most of you know, the 99 members of the Forum are elected from the general populace. This alone guarantees a plethora of opinion with regards to foreign policy. The bibliotheques, for example, are a group of conservatives which would have Garlean focus on recording history, while remaining entirely uninvolved in the making of it. And at the other extreme, We have advocates for proactive diplomacy and direct intervention. My grandfather Galef was one such member, as was Archon Louisois.
Oh, there he is and was. I would have liked to have met Kryle's grandfather. That would have been really cool.
Yet despite our diverse factions and philosophies, the recent vote to deny Eorzea's request for assistance was unanimous. Even more concerning was the fact that many cited other, more pressing duties as justification for their recalcitrance.
Fortuno's refusal in Gridania had those same undertones. 'Twas as if, having stared unblinking into the face of impending doom, it simply turned away to pursue something more important. But what could that possibly be?
They have to
A
know
mystery
something.
indeed, and one which I ask for your help to solve. Our future may depend on it. As for our second potential path, it concerns a request made directly to the students of Baldessian. Our organization was founded primarily to study strange and unexplained phenomena the world over. Mysterious relics and ruins, arcane disturbances, and so forth. Compared to our more isolationist Sharlayan colleagues, we have strong connections overseas, namely with scholars and academics who share our passion for the unknown. The request in question comes from one such acquaintance, Nidana, an alchemist residing in distant Thavnair. Her missive describes the sudden appearance of a tower, and the subsequent summoning of what I can only assume is a lunar primal. In response to this threat, the satrap of Radzat-Han, the individual who governs the city-state, has instructed the alchemists to find a means to deal with the spire.
The artisans of that land are heirs to an ancient tradition, one rather unlike that of their Uldan counterparts. It is possible, nay, probable, that they have gleaned truths unattainable by Eorzea or her Far Eastern allies.
They do, in fact, appear to have a strategy in mind, though it will require further research. To that end, they have requested an introduction to a capable warrior shielded by the blessing of light.
Assuming we divide our forces to pursue both of Kral's lines of inquiry, then having you join the group heading to Thavnair would seem the obvious choice. But the investigation in Sharlayan is of vital importance as well. Equal, I think, to the Thavnairian one, given that the fate of the world may hinge on the results of both.
Yes, it is quite the quandary. Though it is a great imposition and an altogether too common one, our efforts would be more likely to succeed were you to lead the charge on both fronts. You are indeed our champion. As to which task to tackle first, we will defer to your decision. Let us next decide how everyone else might best be assigned.
Okay.
As for myself, I shall continue what I've begun in Sharlayan. I should also like to steal the services of an Archon or two.
And thereby gain access to a greater range of reading material. I will help with that.
Allow me to offer my assistance. I have some small amount of experience in the field of research.
Alice and I would also like to help, if you would have us.
Anything to understand even a fraction of what our father and the Forum might be thinking.
Of course, the more the merrier.
Right. The rest of us will make the journey to Thavnair. Thoughts? Objections?
I passed through Thavnair on my way to infiltrate the Empire, and though I'm not qualified to give a guided tour, I did gain a sense of where things lie.
I'll be happy to have you along then. So for this group, it will be you, me, and Urianger.
Give me a moment afterwards, and I'll supply you with all the details of Nadana's request. Consider this hall our rendezvous point once our respective tasks are complete. May our investigations prove fruitful.
So you have it set to where you can either help here in Charlian or go to the new area. Oh, that's a tough call. Well, let's see what this new thing has for us. I'm assuming it's going to be it's going to be less level, 5 levels less than what I have currently. But I still want to kind of see what it looks like. Oh, it's the same outfit I already seen that was worse. Actually, the one you could buy was a lot worse stats than that. Maybe it's special because you're unlocking them this way. I'm just going to talk to everybody real quick. Our tour of the city was playing distraction. I feel more than ready now to tackle the challenges of the day. Regardless of which forum members are elected is fair and equitable, neither wealth nor social standing offers any advantage to the prospective candidate, but fairly elected or not, Master Matoya still found them all to be insufferable. The forum is intent on concealing its intentions, and a cursory investigation will veil us little, I suspect. You'll need to dig deeper and with the greatest of care. I still don't understand how the vote could be unanimous. What could possibly convince them to all turn their backs on Eorzea? They know something. Great. So it's back to Thavnia. Had I known earlier, I would have considered more suitable attire. Though I've read much such of Rod's Adhan, this visit shall be my first. It will be interesting to see how the Hanash mean to contend with the tower, different as their magical and technological disciplines are. Well, the question is who do we help first? Do we go with Thancred or do we go with the rest of the group? My thing is my brain is telling me I'm more inclined to stay here in Charlian and help with stuff here, but that's mainly because Graha, Alphina, Alza, Y'shtola, and Crow are here versus Estinian, Urianger, and Thancred for their group. I really don't even know who I want to begin with. I really want to stay here in Charlian and look at stuff, but my brain's telling me that the necessary importance is probably placed more on going to the new area first. That's a lot of experience. Level 80. So both areas are level 80, correct? I'm very curious on that front then. So they have a lot. So I wonder how much. What I'm thinking about in my head is I want to know how much level 80 content lasts while going with one group or versus the other group. Because that means you could have a lot of experience and get really high up in level before even having to worry about anything. Now, how much experience do you earn for this? 448,800. You know what I bet they're going to run off of? Is you have to do both sides of the quest. One will be made slightly easier due to the fact that you have a higher level. So when you go back to do it, it actually isn't that hard. I'm going to vote for helping Crow out. I want to help this group out first. None of this changes come over Charlian, but together we will divine the underlying cause for the forum's callousness. As I mentioned before, however, questioning the counselors directly is a fruitless endeavor. They seem to have already come to consensus as to what and how little they are willing to divulge, which is why I began scouring Charlian's archive of historical records for any hint of a connection to the final days. Suffice to say, that progress has been slow. There are so many dusty pages one can skim in a day, but now that I have this band of willing reinforcements, the search should proceed all the swifter. Let's reconvene outside the stand next to the right, you'll find the archives on the western edge of the woods. Now, does that lock the other one? No, it does not. So you can go ahead and pick this up. I crowds in Shark's Hand. If you're ready south, then so are we. Have you been to Thanavir before? I can travel by Aetheryte. But what of the rest of you? Another sea voyage would waste time we do not have. Crow was the same mind, but has already secured the aid of good folk on the confluence. We'll take ourselves there. The confluence, thou sayest? I'm afraid so, my friend. Now we recall the hunt for Isot, onto whose sanctuary we delivered thee owing to the knowledge of our comrade Moonbrita. Moonbrita was an authority on ethereology, a field of study she did embark upon in pursuit of her parents' example. Both are authorities in their own right, and both are researchers at the Confluence. Haven't you gone to see them yet? I attempted to do so earlier, but to my shame, my courage failed me at the last. As it happened, many times I thought to reach out to them after sending them that fateful letter. Neither time nor introspection have revealed unto me the words I should speak, and thus I have kept my silence. Whether you come with us or no is your choice and yours alone. If it is too difficult, we'll manage. Thou art kind to say so, but I have no intention of forsaking our cause. I shall go to the Confluence, and I shall face that which have long been overdue. If it is settled, then let us be off. When we arrive, we should look for a researcher named Kiet. Now, does this automatically take me out of the room? No, but it makes it seem like it is. So you can do both. I bet if you go back into New Game Plus, it's only going to let you do one of those two. Because that's kind of the same way it happened in Shadowbringers when you do the Alpha No and Alizé quest. You can do both, I think, and pick them up, but you can only do one or the other when it actually comes down to it. As I said before, my vote is going to be... Pretty much, I'm going to do what I think is best. I'm going to do the Sharlayan missions first. We'll do Sharlayan. The reason I have that mindset into me is because if I have a little bit better level gear, I'm assuming we're going to be fighting a primal. That means I'm going to have a trial, or at very least a dungeon, and the difficulty will probably be on the leaning towards the sides of difficult. Actually, wait a minute, I want to see this real quick. Do you give out no level sync mission? Okay, so none of these really matter to me that much. I could do them at a later date. I'm not too concerned with doing them right now. Who the hell is writing this in chat? Come closer soon. Kingly Peacock. What the hell is a Kingly Peacock, and what does that have to do with anything? Oh yeah, I forgot to look at this area during the... Oh my... I actually really like these trees. I don't know why, it reminds me of, like a park over in, when I was in DC one time. Because I remember the mausoleum for the World War I veterans of DC. Like, that kind of reminds me of just like a nice little park inside the city. It's awesome. So I'm assuming... No, we're not talking to anybody here. I thought we were, because I've seen all the players here. Never mind. Kryl's here. Any of the other twins aren't here? Nobody else here? My directions are easy enough to follow, I hope. In any case, you stand now before the doors of the Numenon, Sharlayan's grandest collection of books and tomes. This building is actually only an entrance, and one of many of that. For the archives of Numenon extend deep beneath the surface like the roots of a tree. The vast halls of the great Google library pale in comparison to the Numenon's endless maze of subterranean chambers. Any citizen of Sharlayan is free to enter and pursue its shelves. Well, most of its shelves. Only archons are afforded access to certain restricted vaults. I've dispatched Stola and Raha to investigate those. Meanwhile, Alizé and Alphino will help me continue my search through the stacks open to the general public. Alright, so that's getting really bad. Your status presents more of a problem. As a non-citizen, you are only permitted to browse the first floor here at the entrance. Even so, there should be a number of books which touch upon Sharlayan history or foreign policy. Your task will be to find and study the relevant publications. I promise you a working knowledge of those subjects will make it far easier to spot the sort of clues we're looking for. Let's be about it, shall we? I've known the others to meet us at the stone benches over there once they found something promising tomes. Happy reading. I'm just going to put no thank you. I just put in chat no thank you. Oh, I remember this area. How far does it go? Oh my god. Wait. That subterranean bit doesn't go that far down. I see the floor. Oh my god, I gotta get out of here. So you get a brightly colored book. The title in the spine reads The Story of Charlotte. Read the... Oh my god, please don't make it that bad. Please, please, please. Long, long ago, on an island in the Northern Sea, there lived a Rogadan man by the name of Nian Krumpf. That's German or Austrian. I like it. Nian Krumpf was a student of astrology, and he divined that a flood of terrifying proportions would soon sweep over the lands of Eorzea. So it was he that built a gigantic ship, assembled a crew, and set sail for that imperiled realm. The flood arrived as foretold, and to their horror, the strangely churning waters drove the people towards the ocean. It was there, however, that Nian Krumpf's crew hauled them aboard his ark, but the danger had not passed. A towering wave approached, threatening to smash the vessel to pieces. Only moments to spare, Nian Krumpf wove a mighty spell of teleportation, shifted the entire ship to safety atop Albathea's spine. Refugees from surrounding regions huddled there alongside them, but it was not long before the disputes over the dwelling supply of food led to violence and bloodshed. Saddened by the sight, Nian Krumpf gathered to him his crew and his grateful passengers and abandoned the ark to those reddened peaks. They journeyed to the coast where they built a new ship, intent upon returning to the northern seas. They landed on a beach of an island and settled upon that very spot. That settlement prospers and grew, and at times became the city of Charlean, we live in to this day. Okay, I'm intrigued now. Does that say there? It does, okay. The title on spine reads The Roads of the Old Colony. Many, many years ago, on the banks of the Thalak in the Ravanian hinterlands, a Charlean colony once thrived. The settlement was originally established as a mere outpost to study the ethereal sea in the year 1311 of the 6th Astral Era. Soon dispatched into Eorzea found the facilities wanting, and their demands encouraged a gradual expansion in structures and services. As rumors spread of a growing community of academics, the area was further inundated with Eorzean students hoping to share in the renowned wisdom of the Charleans. 50 years later, the Forum passed a motion to recognize what had become a flourishing town as an official Charlean colony. Eorzean residents took the calling to call itself Charlean, which led to no small amount of confusion when discussions turned to the subject of the motherland. In response, some Charlean inhabitants, if pressed for a name, would simply refer to it as the Emporium. Following the Great Exodus, however, goblins and treasure hunters claimed them for themselves a corner of the abandoned colony and gave it yet another name, Ildeshire. The most prominent feature of the Ildeshire, the book does not contain additional information form. It covers the history of Charlean in great detail. Okay. So that one doesn't matter. That's actually still kind of cool. I actually want to go around and actually read all the books. I don't know if anybody else would have that feeling, but I definitely do. I love reading. Leather-bound tome. The title on the spine reads The Voice of a Growing City. In the years following the founding of Charlean, civic policy and other matters of import were decided at the Ecclesia, a public forum at which every citizen was eligible to speak. The city's population grew, however. This format became increasingly impractical. Of course it would. The large number of participants gave rise to ever longer debates, resulting in swift delays of final resolution. This sounds like a similar issue to ancient Greece. With Athens. I think Athens had a similar structure, and it was very bad because when you give the entire people a voice, there's a lot of people to go through. It'd be like the United States, and I dare say even China. Imagine like China with its population, I think, of over 2 billion people, and trying to go through and letting 2 billion people talk at any given time. They will go crazy. Various measures were introduced in an attempt to curtail protracted discussions, but in the year 201 of the 6th Astral Era, it was ultimately decreed that Charlean would transition to a new form of governance. The nation would now be led by a body of 99 members, citizens chosen from amongst their peers by means of a nationwide vote. Thus was the form as we know it today conceived and created. I wonder how that voting process is actually done. Is that voting process divided into districts? Or is it divided into houses? I'm very curious. Or research, like groups. It makes me kind of curious on that front. The title on spine reads An Introduction to the Heavens. Read the book? Yes. Have you ever gazed at the skies above and contemplated the mysteries contained them therein? I speak not of the shifting cloud patterns, but of the vastness beyond the sun and the twinkling tapestry of the night. Some think of the dome above us as finite space, yet amongst the leading thinkers of our age, one scholar's depiction of a boundless sea of stars has firmly taken root. Alas, this heavenly sea remains an unreachable, unknowable destination. There are few indeed who could explain in satisfactory detail why our own stars believed to revolve around the sun. It was the technologist Alak who came closest to the understanding of the laws which govern that starry abyss. It was they who launched the Dalamud and sought to expand beyond our earthbound existence. Having read of their ancient ambitions, I wonder, has your interest in this field of study waxed or waned? What if I would tell you that the eternal constellations were arranged differently in the distant past, that their positions continue to shift almost imperceptibly, but measurably as we journey into the future? Would it shock you to learn that the stars drift further and further apart and may indeed do so forever? Are you eager to learn more? Wrong subject. Search forward to getting details of the forum. Actually, that just reminds me of like some of the issues we revolve around today. It's like the fact that the moon is slowly going further and further away from the Earth. I think it's depending upon the shift of the stars as time goes on. Some stars may burn out, so it can mess with constellations and the such. But I think it really just goes around the movement of the Earth, and over the course of time, everything just moves. That and the fact that, like, over the course of time, the universe is still expanding, so the expansion is leading to some things being moved around. So it's kind of cool. My beloved seekers of knowledge, have you ever put learning before your health and neglected to feed and rest your body as you should? I too once engaged such foolish practice, but one night engrossed in philosophical study I had an epiphany. For all the world's mysteries to drive us to reckless abandon, we have so very few years of life in which to achieve our goals. Thus do I share with this mantra of forever 20 summers young. The number itself is unimportant. You could be 19 or 23 or 40, whatever age you are when you discover this mantra, and let that be the age you aspire to remain. Through mindful, healthy living, will you extend the time available to spend upon your chosen research, another day, another moon, another summit to grasp the greater truths you pursue. In the pages that you follow, we will explore the secrets of maintaining one's physical condition from a biological, ethereological, and arcane viewpoint. Well, that doesn't matter to me. Still, nonetheless, interesting read. Seems like somebody else had the same issue most humans have when it comes to life, which is our ability to hopefully get past it. Try and read Stewards of Wisdom. Okay, I think this is the other Charlene book we had to read. During the chaos of the Sixth Umbral Calamity, Archon, founder of Charlene, bore witness to the mad savagery of men brought to the brink of despair. Upon raising a settlement on an island in North End, he instructed his people thus: renounce the ways of war, pursue enlightenment through knowledge and reason. The Charlenes took to heart the words of their savior, and thenceforth served as stewards of wisdom. Upon a foundation of accumulated learning, they built a homeland unlike any other, a nation born from the strength of minds rather than the strength of arms. With knowledge of economics came shrewd trading. Knowledge of agriculture came boundless crops. Engineering brought wells and sewers, ending squabbles over water. Wealth of expertise could be bartered for wealth and coin, and the more their wisdom spread throughout the world, the more mankind as a whole would thrive. And so it was that, no matter the trials and tribulations of the age, the citizens of Charlene would live by their founders' teachings. For the sake of a better tomorrow, for the sake of a brighter star, they would eschew the tools of war and with knowledge live the world. I'm very curious on the front of... I'm actually going to go see if there's more books to read, because I think there's probably one more to read. Especially like with the way Cryo put it, there were so many books available here that it's increasing my own understanding, which is the voting body, the 99 people, they all have different viewpoints on how much Charlene should evolve itself. It makes me wonder if somebody actually warned the other ones and want to keep getting involved in stuff, like during one of the meetings, that if you get involved, they showed them the facts, they showed them all the information, what would it result if they got involved, which is either the ending of Charlene or the ending of the world. It makes me kind of curious on how that would work. Well, Grand Alze already here. Well, I know Alze would be. She hates this stuff. So, were you waiting long? I want to make sure I borrowed at least a few promising volumes. Alpha and Cryo to be along shortly. I was delayed in a similar fashion. As far as I could see, no tiles on the Archon stacks mentioned the final day specifically, so they had no choice but to start with the tangibly relevant tones, if they are even that. Present, the plan is to skim through as quickly as we dare and share our discoveries as we make them. It would have been nice to invite everyone to the estate, plenty of comfortable places to read, and a ready supply of hot tea. I was quite fond of reading outside. It's not with the little pleasures that you miss your home. It's been difficult. After arrival, we managed to speak to one of the family servants and ask how things were. It seems our dear father instructed the staff that even if Alphino and I were to return to Charlene, we were not allowed to cross the threshold. What? Harsh measure indeed. I hope that our efforts to understand his position, that of the form, will perhaps lead to reconciliation. We'll mend this rift one day, I'm certain of it. And what have you, Rod? Have you been to visit your family, or do they not live here in the city? Oh, well, my situation is also somewhat complicated. I was raised in Charlene, yes, but I was born rather further away. The southern reaches of Islabad, in fact, for generations, my people have dwelt in Corvos, the coastal region opposite the island of Thavnir. The Alligans founded a city in that fertile land and by ship brought in to subjugate tribes of Makota to serve as laborers. Of course, the massacre of the Fourth Umbral Calamity brought an end to the Empire's reign, and when the Fifth Calamity froze the sea solid, many of the tribes living there in Corvus braved the journey back to Eorzea. My ancestors, however, chose to remain, that they might prevent the remnants of Alligan technology from being misused. Isn't Corvus under Garlean rule? For the past 50 years, yes, some semblance of local culture remains, as is the case for most imperial provinces, but Garlemald renamed the region Locus Amonis. Locus Amonis, I like it. When I was a boy, a nearby town came under the jurisdiction of an illustrious imperial family, the nobles of House Darnus. House Dawn has demonstrated a singular interest in Alligan civilization, and so my tribe was forced to consider a plan of action. For some time already, voices had been raised of abandoning our ancient customs. After all, the Alligan eye no longer passed our eldest children as reliably as it once had. Fear of discovery eventually tipped the scales, and a decision was made to bury our ties to the knowledge and traditions of Allag. As the last child born with the Alligan eye, I was given over to the custody of friends and the students of Aldician, who had me registered as a Charlian citizen. I never even considered, forgive me, it was an unkind question. Even Thancred was taken in by Archon Luzar, was he not? Stories of adopted wives and rescued orphans are more common among Charlians than you may think. Yet regardless of our origin, we are all provided with an equal opportunity to learn, and with sufficient perspicacity. I have no idea what the hell that word is. That is beyond my English. We outsiders can even learn the vaunted title of Archon. It is exactly why I love this for this country, and why I wish it to remain as a nation of which its citizens can be proud. Here, another good reason to get to the bottom of the Forum's stubbornness, aside from the trifling matters of our impending doom. Excuse us while we try to make headway into the book siding, and more company should be arriving any moment now. So if we head to that location, that means that we could enter... I wonder if Gra's parents are there. Dude, that'd be so... Oh wait, I'm not doing that yet. I'm gonna talk to them. There are others better suited to poring over old history books, so I thought I'd try my luck with more recent events. If I could find anything to better inform the Forum's baffling behavior. Oh, what else do I, of course? Press little, I'm afraid. I've not returned since Master Galuf first brought me here. I tell you, the Corvosi rebels still seek to slip the yoke of their Imperial Masters, though the fighting is far less fierce than it once was. Oh, and if they have carpets, flying carpets, the legends are quite extraordinary. I can get a flying carpet? I can show you, Jeebus. Oof. We've returned with our selections. Although I must say the pickings were quite slim indeed. Mistress Crowell has already flicked through every history book devoted to disasters and more than a few which barely made mention of them. As such, we will be looking to research paper on the Umbral Calamities, as well as articles written by prominent forum members. Perhaps their knowledge of the final days comes from an unexpected source. Speaking of which, might I ask you a few questions related to the final days? I'm the only one here who didn't witness the events of Amarod firsthand, and I fear I may be overlooking critical details. Yeah, sure. My thanks. Now, where to begin? First things first, what kind of phenomena did the ancients encounter as the final days drew nigh? Complete destabilization of creation magics, primals of unrivaled power summoned from ether, the worst kind of phenomenon you can imagine. I think it was destabilization of creation magics, correct? Yes, the unfolding calamity wrought havoc on all matter of life. The chaos extended to the ancients themselves, causing their power of creation to spiral out of control. Fear and despair manifested in terrible, tangible fashion. Meteor raining from the sky, fire erupting from the ground, indescribable abominations prowling the streets. That more or less aligns with my understanding. If only the arts of creation had survived until the present day, we might have had something substantial to analyze. To the best of our knowledge, however, those techniques were not preserved or passed on. Which only surmises that the closest known magic is that of the summoning rituals promulgated by the Ascians. Was there aught else of more that heralded the approach of the final days? The entire star was engulfed by disaster all at once. They say it began with a keening sound from the land itself. Alphino, you can answer this one. I think it was. Wait, let's go with number 2. Ah yes, the Amaroteans spoke of it, didn't they? We never did hear this sound ourselves, of course, thrust as we were into the midst of madness. But it seems that each and every one of the catastrophes were preceded by this ominous noise. Eventually resounded all across the star, and not even Amarot was spared. So the ground was crying out, you say. To be considered the harbinger of doom, it must have been quite distinctive and probably quite loud. I'll have to speak with one of the Nomoans mammoths and ask after any books which make mention of such a sound. Last but not least, would you describe how the ancients sought to quell this unprecedented calamity? What definitive action did they take? They knocked Dalamud from the sky, they summoned Hydaelyn, they summoned Zodiark. Yes, with Elizabeth serving as his heart, so many gave themselves in sacrifice to bring him into being. We do not know exactly how Zodiark brought salvation to Sar, only that by his godlike will were the laws of nature set right. Then once the balance was redressed, and the ancients offered up a further sacrifice to heal the ravages of the final days, life sprouted anew, and it was these fledgling souls that intended to render unto Zodiark a trade, that which would have allowed them to resurrect the shades of loved ones absorbed by the primal. Or might have, if Anad and Afar has not manifested their opposition in the form of Hydaelyn. Thank you, both of you, for the detailed review. I feel much more confident now in my understanding of events. With all that freshly in mind, it does make me wonder what the Telephori truly mean when they speak of bringing back the final days. We've seen that what they're doing with those towers is forcing people to summon primal as a kind of catalyst. Are they attempting to mirror the conditions caused by unstable creation magics? Are they simply using the final days as a figure of speech, a convenient metaphor for the scale of destruction they plan to unleash? But this is all pointless conjecture at this point. Let's return our attention to the forum, shall we? We should keep an eye out for your stall, but 'tis time we began studying these research papers. You know, one thing that I actually have been quite curious about, and I'm wondering if anybody else, because it's another thought that I started thinking of as I played this game. What are the chances Fandaniel is the one that actually was the one who brought about the final days? And he was one of the... Because he is an Ascian, correct? So he was there at the time. So what are the chances that he actually was the one who was setting this stuff in motion? Nobody knew anything about it. And now that he has, like, his memories or whatever back, and there's nobody who is there to stop him immediately, that now he's actually trying to do exactly what he originally intended to do, which is bring about an end of the star. Kind of curious on that front. Because again, as evil as we can sit there and see Zodiark as being, okay, I don't think these two have anything to add. As little as we know about Zodiark, we assume he is definitely evil. But there is, I don't know how necessarily evil you can call him. Yes, he's a primal. Yes, he was given sacrifices, but he did as he was, you know, kind of made to be summoned to do. So I don't know how much you can consider him as being an evil. Many forum members are also researchers, but if they know not of the final days, knowledge might surface in the writing. That is my hope anyway. So it makes me wonder that if instead of really, it's got from exec sits on hand right then. Enough chatting, more reading. And it makes me wonder that if instead of Hydaelyn and Zodiark still being at a head with each other, maybe because Fandaniel was trying to issue the end of the star itself, maybe they joined forces, and then that's the like them coming as one, and it ends this cycle of dark versus light. It's dark and light coming together to stop the true evil. That'd be amazing, dude. We'll talk to you, Stola, and then I'll probably end this episode and get into the next. On the last, am I? Well, my extended search of the Archon stacks produced 1 or 2 possible useful books, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. If you recall, we already learned of the sources of reflection from the Garlean Eorzea, or oracles. I think that says oracles. Was potential to cause panic confusion. That tome was deemed apocryphica. Apocalyptic. That's the word I'm using. That's a better word. It's hid away in the great Google library. It is even less like it the knowledge of the unsunded world, not to mention that the horrors of final days would be left sitting on a shelf for any curious scholar to find. It stands to reason then that my colleagues, be they archons or counselors, should prefer be largely ignorant of the subject. Yet when you confronted Master Fortunault with Knowledge of the Telephori and their mechanizations, he scoffed at suggestion that they would be posed a threat. He seemed adamant that the Forum would know that the final days were truly upon us. He only supports conclusion that whatever privileged wisdom is guiding the Forum's behavior is being kept secret from the rest of the nation. Not that I mean to excuse myself from reading duty. Whether they contain mention of the final days or no, these books could yet hold something of value. You weren't thinking of leaving, were you? There's plenty of work for everyone. I gotta read. I actually don't mind reading that much. You labor for what feels like an age of your soulless research assistant. Oh, now that's an insult, man. Jesus Christ. Okay, where is your Stola in this? Thank you for your help, but I think I can manage the rest without your assistance. If I were you, I'd steal a few quiet moments for myself. Yeah, I am. Oh dear, you look exhausted, but what about your studies? Were you able to find any books on the subjects I mentioned? And the day was spent well. Should you wish to read them again, a mammoth reference text will point you in the right direction. For the moment, though, I still should take a well-deserved rest. We might be off our research for quite some time. Buggers. Alright. New shoes. Bog. Alright, let's continue on. Ready for a tea break, Hydaelyn? I know I am. Honestly, my neck and shoulders are going to calcify if I don't stretch my legs and walk around for a bit. You know the last stand down in the harbor, don't you? Come and meet me there at the outside tables and I'll treat you to their coffee. It's quite good. Yay, I get to go on break. Yeah, Graz seems to be lost in his reading. Found it not of interest so far. I think Charlotte might be right about not getting our hopes up. Yeah, she probably is. Advent of the First Umbral Calamity, but it reads more like a work of fanciful fiction than an actual academic supposition. Alright, I say let's go to Last Stand, baby. I really... I will be praising this music till the end of my life, dude. This is so good. I wonder what the other area is like. Oh my god, I am so curious on that front. So many players running around, dude. My favorite part is I don't even see that many people actually wearing the new armors. Everybody's still using their freaking custom outfits, which is hilarious. It's like me, that's all I do. I used to not, but now it's kind of like I like this outfit, so I'm going to keep it. As busy as ever, I see. How very Charlian that no other gourmet cafe has been sprung up to compete for customers. Actually, this crowd gives me an idea. Before we place an order, why don't we ask a few questions engaged in the needed city? I'm interested to hear what the average citizen has to say about the Telephori. We might even learn something new. Worth a try, don't you think? Halsey's now company. You keep her at your side in order to proceed with the quest objectives. You can leave Halsey behind by entering a different area, putting too much distance between you, or by speaking with her, blah blah blah. If you wish to have Halsey company again, return to speak with her original squad. Okay, so basically what we do is we kind of run around and talk to people while Halsey's here. I wonder if Halsey has any, like, areas she can discuss stuff with us at. What is it? And a man will enjoy a moment of private respite. If you're looking to share a table, then I respectfully request you look somewhere else. You misunderstand, sir. We were simply wondering if you knew of the Telephori. These enemies of the peace have promised an end to all we hold dear, and... Wait, you're that House of Eorzea girl, aren't you? And this woman with you is obviously a foreigner. I heard you were disowned for helping outsiders to indulge their barbaric whims. We are giving truth to the rumor. Now thank you for leaving me. I've not to say to the likes of you. Well, I must apologize. It was foolish of me to expect an ounce of civility from one so enlightened. Come, Hydaelyn. Halsey's still talking crap, even though the guy told her to go F herself. Yes, I don't believe I've had the pleasure. Excuse the interruption, but we're hoping you might share your thoughts on Telephori and their unconscionable plans. My goodness, if it isn't the young Miss Leverrier. My apologies, but I work in the office of the Forum, and if word reach Master fortunate that I was helping you. I see. We're sorry to have bothered you. Okay, it says Dickin. I just seen the word dick. I don't know why. My brain just went numb. Welcome, madam. What can I offer you today? I want your cup of coffee. Hey, is that Mr. Giles? I see that. My word, how long has it been? Far too long. Meet Dickin, the owner of the Last Stand. I used to frequent his cafe on occasion, in between lessons in the studium. That seems like an age ago now. I remember hearing that you and Master Alphino had set sail for Eorzea, but then you never came back. Lately, there's been gossip about your father disowning the pair of you. Everything all right at home? It's complicated, and I hadn't expected a complete stranger to be so familiar with our situation quite so quickly. Everyone has an opinion, it seems. Well, it is House over, yeah. No matter how discreet Master Fortunate may have been, news of your family's doings never stay secrets for long. Things being what they are, what brings you back to the city now of all times? We have questions, and only Charlian has the answers. Tell me, Master Dickin, have you heard anything about the apocalypse called the Final Days? What, like in the end of the world? Nothing like that, I'm afraid, and that's what you're going to find here. Information on this apocalypse? Yes, whatever we can learn. Unfortunately, your patrons appear to be unwilling to speak with me. Wish there was more I could do to help. Take away their drinks and their meals, they'll suddenly learn to shut the hell up and talk. But then maybe there is. You're a visitor to Charlian, aren't you? Then few will know your face. We should be able to pass you off as a servant, but none the wiser. We just finished preparing a few orders. Strike up friendly conversation while you're setting down the food, and you might get the answers you're looking for. Not a bad idea. I hate to ask, but what do you think? I gotta be a server? That's spirit. Pay attention now, and I'll explain where each of these dishes need to go. The tea set is for the chatty group sitting by the water's edge. The omelet is to one of our regulars, a Highlander by the name of Gisela. She's sitting outside table with a friend of hers. Behind you, you see a Makota gentleman. He ordered the oven-baked lobsters. Got all that? If you're not sure, just ask me again and I'll explain. So, Makota gentleman gets the one... Wait, did they just have you go to person by person? Because that's actually not that hard to do. Well, this is the chatty group. I'm assuming they're getting a tea set, right? Oh, my tea set. My tea set. Lovely. Thank you. Telefori who? I'm sorry, I've never heard of them or their final days. My friends and I are somewhat uninformed when it comes to current events. Now, if you want to hear about ritual, arcane practices, natural era, common, or esoteric, then I'd be happy to talk to you off. You know what I forgot to do? Screw it, we're gonna keep playing. That's the omelet, right? I find 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's dig in. No time to wait. What, the Telefori? Ah, yes, I remember seeing the name in the latest Gazette. That and some grand claim about the end of days. Some old senseless warmongering when one of these fools grow tired of spilling each other's blood. But stay out of it. I say the forum, make the right decision. I fully support our decision to remain neutral. At last, the oven-baked lobster is mine. You have no idea how long I've scrimped and saved myself to afford this heavenly dish. Final days, this is the first I've heard of it. Although that would explain why my friend has been rushed off his feet. It must be a busy time to be a gleaner. Now, you don't know what a gleaner is. They're collectors of a sort. Travel the world procuring things we haven't gotten here in Charlian. Priceless books, unusual life specimens, and so forth. So named for those folk who trail after the reapers in the fields, picking up every grain which was missed. By all counts, gleaning is a most meticulous and demanding profession. Telefori make good on their audacious threats, then many uncatalogued and ranties could be lost forever. Why else would the gleaners be buzzing about in such a frenzy? Watch the harbor and you'll see what I mean. They're carting loads in from the docks all day. It's never been this hectic before, not like this. So, the Telefori are saying they're going to remain neutral and they don't want involved in a war, but they are preparing for something big. Okay, that's not good. We'll talk to Alizé next episode, guys. I think I went over on time again, unfortunately. I think I'm almost 50 minutes in. As I said before, I'm going to go ahead and edit the first episode and get it ready to go. I'm going to take a bit of a break because my food will probably be here in the next half hour or so. And then I'm coming back and playing more of this. I am in love right now. This is really cool. I like being more meticulous and detailed just because of Shadowbringers. Shadowbringers has made me question every little thing going on, and the fact that I am makes me feel like I'm that more involved in the story. So please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Actually, wait a minute. Why the hell am I even saying this? Cue the outro. Alright, everybody. This is Demon telling you goodbye. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of Endwalker. Again, I probably won't get too lucky and have too many like openings because there's gonna be so many people playing Endwalker. So I'm doing a custom little outro for it this time around. So as I always sit there and say, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys then. Thanks.